Namaskar to all. I am Dr. Anupa Jain, a senior journalist from ETV Bharat, Bangalore. Today we will be discussing NISAR, the NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar, a joint Earth observation mission between NASA and ISRO. Launched on July 30th this year at 5:40 p.m. Indian Standard Time aboard ISRO's GSLV F-16 from Sriharikota, NISAR is equipped with the world's first dual frequency SAR, the L-band radar from NASA and the S-band radar from ISRO. This advanced satellite can capture all weather, day and night images with centimeter level precision, mapping nearly all of Earth's land and ice covered regions every 12 days. Its data will play a vital role in monitoring climate change, natural disaster, and agriculture. Joining us today is Chaitra Rao, the project director of NISAR. She led the satellite's configuration, building integration, testing, and launch operations in collaboration with NASA. Following the launch, she confirmed the successful solar panel development and NISAR's transition into the commissioning phase. Welcome to our channel, ma'am.
Thank you, Anupa. Thank you for the nice introduction.
My pleasure. So, first of all, please briefly introduce your role and responsibilities in the NISAR mission. This is a significant, high value, and ambitious mission for ISRO. What's your take on this?
Yeah, like we all know, it's a joint collaboration mission. So it was jointly developed by NASA and ISRO. And the uniqueness of this mission lies in the way the mission is conceived itself, because it has both dual band synthetic aperture radars operating on this mission, the L band developed by NASA and JPL, and the S band by ISRO. So the uniqueness of this mission also lies in the way these radars are going to operate. It's called a sweep SAR technique. The way it sweeps across a large swath of almost 240 kilometers and will give very high resolution data as well.
Okay.
So this swath and resolutions are always a trade-off. So when we have a high resolution imaging missions, we compromise on the span that the payloads will look at. Whereas when we are looking at a larger swath, we compromise on the resolution at which or the precision with which it can look at the features. But NISR is unique in that way that it will give us a large swath and also a high resolution imagery.
Okay.
Myself, project director of this mission, being the project director of this mission, I took over from this being a long lead mission of almost 10 years, which took
Okay.
almost a decade to get developed because of the technical challenges, of course, technological improvements that had to be done for developing this kind of a complex instrument.
Okay.
um, I had seen a couple of various developments that were happening. So, in the capacity of project director, I have aided in developing this entire satellite and integrating, testing, and launching, and the operations as well. Everything comes under the purview of the project director. So my role has been to make sure that the mission meets its goals and flies in orbit to meet the specifications that it was meant to comply to.
Okay. Right. So, what exactly is this mission and why is it significant for India and the world?
Yeah, coming to India, like we all know, we have a varied topographical features across the country with different climatic and weather conditions. So, being in the tropical zone, we are prone to many of the natural disasters. Like we have floods, we have sometimes drought in some areas, and sometimes we have less of rain, and such kind of extremes are very often seen in India. So NISR being a mission which has this both LSAR and SR, is going to give us an insight into various applications which are aiding towards studies which will help us understand how the overall climate is changing. It will also help us in assessing the carbon footprints, and also try to see how the soil moisture is changing over a period of time, and which areas are becoming drought prone, and what kind of vegetation needs to be put, and how
Okay.
the forest canopy or the deforestation patterns are happening. So if we want to understand all of this, NISAR is going to give the answers for all that.
Okay, perfect. So my next question is, how did the collaboration between NASA and ISRO for NISAR come about?
Um, yeah, like we know, we belong to two different cultures and opposite part of the world. So the way we approach a problem or approach a issue is slightly different. Other than that, the overall teams work together when the common goal is defined. The teams put work together in trying to resolve any problem that came across. So the collaboration has fructified into this mission of this scale. It's not just because of the mission alone, but by the intent of the individuals and the team members to meet the end goal, to make it a good instrument which is going to help the mankind for the next forthcoming years.
Okay, right. So the NISAR mission will showcase Indian space engineering on a global scale, and countries will leverage NISAR data for various applications, showcasing the strength of Indian space engineering. Please elaborate about this.
Indian space program, like we know, from the days of Aryabhatta, which was launched in 1975, till date in 2025, when we celebrated the 50 years of this launch, we have come a long way. The technology has taken leaps and bounds, and improved a lot. Like those days when we used to have this kind of telephones where we would have a mouthpiece and a receiver, to a mobile phone which is as small as a few centimeters. So the same kind of technological development is seen in the space sector as well.
Hmm.
So NISR mission is has been designed to fly all these state of the art technologies which were required for the mission.
Mhm.
Like for example, we have a high data rate downlink capability K-band transmitters, which were a requirement. When NISR generates, it generates several terabits of data over a day. So almost 80 to 90 terabits of data is expected. So when this kind of data is generated by the satellite, so to complement that, a high data rate downlink capability was required, and we developed a K-band data which could give us a very high, almost 3 gigabits per second data rate. So this kind of state of the art technology has been put in into NISR. So every subsystem, for that matter, whatever the best we had, has
Hmm.
been incorporated in NISR. So I'm sure that it is going to live its life and provide the science that is it is expected to give.
All right. Could you walk us through the integration of NASA's L-band radar with ISRO's S-band radar on a single satellite platform, and why this combination is unique according to you?
Yeah, L band and S bands are they are two independent radars developed separately. So L band was independently developed by JPL, and it happened in Pasadena, USA. Whereas S band SAR was developed by ISRO at SAC Ahmedabad. So while we actually broke down the entire development phase into various phases of development and integration. So L-band SAR was independently being developed by JPL, and they integrated into a common structure called a IRIS.
Mhm.
So S-band SAR was developed parallelly by ISRO team at Ahmedabad, and it was taken to JPL to together integrate on the common structure.
Hmm.
So this structure is common, on which both L band and S band are integrated. These two radars also share a common 12-meter reflector, which is going to add up the gain that it requires to achieve the required swath and the big area that it can image.
Oh,
So it was quite challenging in the sense we had to send people from here to support the integration when it was happening at US. And also now when the integrated radar structure came back to ISRO for integration with the satellite. So that was all the engineers from JPL NASA would come here, were stationed here
hmm.
to support the various phases of the integration.
Hmm.
So it was a long integration phase. Generally, all ISRO missions would take typically something like 6 to 8 months, whereas NISAR took almost 10 to 11 months of integration only with the satellite. And prior to that, the iris integration was also carried out for another almost an year or so. So sufficient testing also has been done on both. So this is how the entire satellite was built, and we were ready for launch uh, by the year 2023 itself.
Okay, right. So, as you mentioned, there were some problem regarding integration wise, some challenges were there. So, apart from this, what were the biggest challenge during the development and launch of NISAR, if you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, technically, whatever challenges were there, because there are almost lot of packages that are being developed independently by two different organizations. So, technically, when we see, it's very difficult for us to finalize all the interfaces. So what we did is we took an independent parallel development approach, such that we finalized the interfaces or the exchanges that would happen between these packages or these subsystems. So we developed an onboard computer, and JPL also developed an onboard computer. So we said that this is the going to be the interface between these two. But as time progressed, we saw that there were challenges with respect to the faults, that if any of the system gets into a faulty mode, how do we communicate this to the other system,
Okay,
saying that the fault is happening on the one side. So this was one of the biggest challenges that we faced, and successfully we deployed fault detection, isolation, and recovery features on both sides, such that we can communicate the faults occurring on either sides, and the subsequent operations can be taken up after these faults are recovered out of. So technically this was the challenge, and culturally, initially we had difference of opinions with respect to the work culture,
okay,
the way some processes are followed, the way some things are executed, if we the way some of the qualifications are done on the packages. So there were some difference of opinions, but as time progressed, like I said, when a common goal was there and we had to meet the schedule and also the end result, some trade-offs were done, and the team worked together to work out these differences. And now it all looks like it was worthwhile, all the efforts that has been put in.
right. Wonderful, ma'am. So, what type of data will NISAR gather? How will this information be used to monitor Earth's ecosystem and ice masses? And in addition, how will these observations support farmers, assist environmentalists, scientists, contribute to addressing global challenges such as climate change and resource management or natural disaster? So, please elaborate.
Yeah, what we have done is, for both the LSAR and SR put together, we have laid out an elaborate plan for the next 3.5 years
Okay.
of what area of Earth will be imaged in what mode these radars are capable of imaging in some almost 180 to 200 different kinds of modes.
Okay.
So all these modes give different perspective to the same areas.
Mm-hmm.
So some may look at the soil moisture. Some modes can give better insight into the soil moisture content. Some may look at to give us a different insight into the glacier movements. Some are meant for taking the coastal area region imaging.
Okay.
So there are modes defined for every topography, every kind of feature, and every science that it is expected to give.
Mm-hmm.
So the entire 3.5 years imaging plan has been already laid out, and these radars will jointly operate to collect this data.
Okay.
So whatever is collected in both all the entire globe will be hosted either by on our website, which is called Bhunidhi, or
Mm-hmm.
on the NASA website or the cloud, which is hosted at the Alaska data sharing facility.
Okay.
So it's an open platform, and the data is made accessible to the entire global community, science community. So anybody who is working towards any of these applications will have free access to this data.
So basically,
So
it will be publicly available, right?
publicly available. It's a open data. So anybody should be able to take the data, process it for the applications that they want, and get the science out of it. The
Okay.
uniqueness will be there because it has a 12-day repeat cycle.
Hmm.
And every 12 days, the smaller deformations or the changes that is happening in his area of interest can be very clearly seen. So
Hmm.
that is the beauty of the
Correct.
mission.
So, ma'am, as you mentioned, these radars will work jointly also. So they can operate separately also. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, like we know, S band has a lesser penetration capability, so it is more of a surface related and a overall requirement meeting payload.
Okay.
So its applications are more towards your crop assessments and
Okay.
canopy assessment and forest deforestation and forest mapping, that kind
Mhm.
of applications it will support. Whereas else are having higher penetration, it can penetrate through the vegetation. So it will be more giving more insight into the subsurface level of the earth. So it can talk about some deformations happening, land deformation, subsidences happening. So these two put together, you will be able to get more science.
Okay. So,
So independent operations also are possible,
hmm.
and jointly also is are the modes
With
of.
joint collaboration wise, like if they work together, so they can give more deep information, right?
Exactly.
Huh.
Exactly. So based on your area of interest, so you can either use both the data or you can choose to use data independently as
Separately.
well.
Okay. 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 So, ma'am, what is the expected operational lifespan of the satellite?
The initial design life is 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly the consumables which we call on the satellite is the fuel,
Hmm.
which we generally account for the mission life. So NISAR was designed for 5 years life, whereas JPL's design life is 3.5 years. But
Okay.
however, with the precision launch that we have got and the very less fuel that we have consumed,
Hmm.
we are pretty sure that it will outlive the life that it has been designed for.
Okay. And ma'am, one last thing, can NISAR's data be used for real-time disaster monitoring such as earthquake, landslide, floods?
Real time, I would say it is slightly tricky because the passes are defined.
Hmm.
It almost covers only 240 kilometers at once. It will be able to see.
Hmm.
So if the satellite is passing over that area and happens to be, if the disaster it happens to be on that area, then it will be definitely able to
Okay.
see. Otherwise, for all the disaster management and assessment, it will
Mhm.
definitely give a good insight. Like flood inundation, once the flood is there, how much area has got impacted, where vegetation is impacted, where people needs to be evacuated, or how the river is swelling. So this kind of assessment can be done. So in real time is slightly challenging because it depends on the geometry and where the satellite is moving, because the intent is to cover the entire globe in 12 days.
Hmm.
So the 12 days covering takes the satellite to revolve around the earth at a very fast pace. So
Mhm.
it may not be seeing at at that time, but definitely the impact of that. And if at all we have to send some rescue operations team for us for rescuing some people after some natural disasters, so such kind of applications, it will definitely aid.
Okay. And then what was the most memorable moment in the NISAR journey for you?
Most memorable moment, I would say there are n number like that, but the most my favorite, I would say, is the launch,
Okay.
because the launch is the first milestone, the beginning of the journey of NISR. So the moment it is launched into the precise orbit, the most of the or I would say like 70% of the job is done, because 30% whatever satellite has to do on ground, we have done sufficient testing. So we were very pretty sure that it will happen. And the most challenging part of which we have conquered yesterday is the boom and the reflector deployment.
Okay.
So once these two things were conquered, I think there is no look backs. So
Okay.
these two are the most cherishable moments, I feel.
Mhm. Ma'am, not only I would add, not only for you scientists, but for general public also, it was a goosebump and memorable thing for all of us also. It was a very proud moment. Yeah,
Thank you so
definitely.
much.
And ma'am, one thing more, how have NASA and ISRO coordinated work across different continent and time zones?
Yeah, that has been a great challenge,
Yes,
because
yes,
we are almost 12 hours apart.
true.
So the entire team has always tried to schedule meetings either early in the mornings or late in the evenings.
Okay,
So it would always happen that we would work at our respective centers during the daytime, and towards the evening we would have the meetings with the JPL NASA counterparts in the evenings.
okay.
So the past 5 6 years, people have worked
Day and night.
almost 24/7,
Yeah,
I would say,
yes.
to meet the timelines. But it has been, in a way, it has aided also when there were collaborative actions to be completed. So in those scenarios, it has helped. So when we could do the work and hand over the actions to them so that they complete the work during their daytime, so
Okay.
that kind of help aid also has been there. But
Mhm.
the most challenging had been the meetings.
True. And as a closing note, you would like to share anything with your audience?
Yeah, of course. NISR is a very unique mission. I would urge all the science fraternity to take the data. I am sure that it is going to serve the human mankind for the forthcoming years with the new insight it can give. Uh, the uniqueness of this large swath and high resolution, for a SAR mission, that too, with the unique sweep SAR technique, is first time flown. So I am sure that the science fraternity is waiting for this data, and they are well prepared and equipped to take this data. I would request them and urge them to request more and more data, build more applications on it, and make it freely available to everyone, to the other users as well, who might want to build some more applications based on what insights they get out of the data. So it's always it is a collaboration mission, so it can become more collaborative and more inclusive, I would say.
Mhm.
So go Nisar.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for this insightful information. Thanks again.
Thank you, Anuba.